to work harmoniously within the team because we had targets to work towards and objectives to achieve. So to summarise, I would always deal with conflict straight away in a confident and concise manner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. What are your salary expectations?
Before I came along to the interview, I carried out a little bit of research based on the salary range for this manager role within this industry. And that range is between $30,000 and $40,000. Now, of course, based on my experience and my confidence levels, I believe I am worth the higher salary range of $40,000. However, I understand that you don't know me, you don't know my capabilities, and therefore I have a responsibility to prove to you my worth. On that basis, I would be comfortable with a salary of $37,500.
How would you define success?
How would I define success? Success to me, first and foremost, is doing my job as a manager to a high professional standard. Success is also about getting the most out of my team. If I see my team performing to a high standard, then that, in my eyes, is achieving success. I said at the start of this interview that I have my own personal and professional goals. And the only way that I will achieve those is by performing as a manager to a very high standard. So if I do that, I will achieve success outside of work. Finally, success to me is seeing your organisation grow, continually develop, improve and achieve its commercial and financial objectives. And the only way that will happen is if managers such as myself do a really good job for you.
How do you delegate your tasks?
So delegation is a really important area of being an effective manager. So whenever I am delegating tasks, I will start off and assess the task that I need doing. Now, because I will have carried out performance reviews with all members of my team, I will know each individual's strengths, and therefore I will be able to allocate that task to the person within my team who I feel is most suited to it. I will then speak to that person and I will communicate with them in a clear and concise manner, and I will give them a solid brief of what I want them to do, how I want them to do the task, and finally the time scale that it needs to be completed by. They will then have the opportunity to speak to me during the completion of the task if they need any advice or guidance. So whenever I delegate tasks, I will ascertain the task that needs to be done, I will allocate it to the right person, I will give them a clear and concise brief, and I will then support them moving forward until that task is completed.
Thank you, Richard. That concludes the questions we have for you. Do you have any questions for us?
I've really enjoyed the process. I just have a couple of questions, if that is okay. So the first question is, what are the plans for your organisation over the next 5 to 10 years? Because I plan to stay with your business for a long period of time as a manager, and it will be interesting to know how you plan to move the company forward.
It's great to hear, firstly, that you plan on being with us long term. Our plans are very much, we've got a growth plan for the next 5 years. We've got new operations we want to launch worldwide and globally that we want you to be a part of, and your team needs to grow and help us get to there. So we want you to be a part of that over the next 5 years to help us grow and hit our targets worldwide.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what has frustrated you about managers who've held this or similar positions previously within your organisation?
Right, yeah, so previous candidates that we have had haven't been able to get up to speed as quickly as we would have liked them to get up to speed. So one of the first things we'd like you to do is, as you mentioned earlier, do a performance review of your team, get to know your team really well, and get them all on the same page and understanding so as to get up to speed as quick as they can. It's really been the key reason where we've struggled with previous candidates in your position.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I have no more questions, so thank you very much. Can I just finish off and say I've really enjoyed the process of being interviewed for this manager position. I genuinely really want to work for your organisation. I believe that the skills and qualities I have are a match for the standards that you set, and I believe if you do hire me as your manager, you will see an immediate and positive impact within the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hi there, my name is Richard McMunn from the interview training website, passmyinterview.com, and in this tutorial I will teach you how to answer the very difficult interview question, what's your biggest weakness? So if you have a job interview coming up for any role or any organisation whatsoever, they will ask you this question. But don't worry, I'm going to teach you exactly what to say to pass. And just very quickly, if you are new to this channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button right now, because I want to help you to pass your interview, and I can only do that if you are subscribed. And please make sure you hit the like button, because that motivates me to create more content for you. Now, to help you answer the tough interview question, what's your biggest weakness, I will cover 4 important things. First and foremost, I will tell you why the interviewer is asking you this question. I will then tell you the weaknesses that you must avoid when responding to the question, what's your biggest weakness? I will then give you 3 really important tips for giving a brilliant answer, and I will then give you 11 great weaknesses that you can use during your job interview. So let's get straight into the presentation, and I will help you to answer the question, what's your biggest weakness? So, why is the interviewer asking you the question, what's your biggest weakness? Well, they are asking you the question for 3 reasons. The first reason is they want to see that you are self-aware. You understand your weaknesses, because if you understand them, then you can take steps to improve. The second reason why they ask you the question, what's your biggest weakness, is because they want to assess whether or not you are an honest person. Now, those people who say, I don't have any weaknesses, are not being honest. We all have weaknesses. So it's really important that you do give one, but that you give one that is not a match for the job description. And finally, they want to hear that you have a plan in place for improving upon your weakness. So there's 3 reasons why the interviewer will ask you the question, what's your biggest weakness? Now, there are 3 weaknesses you should avoid when responding to the question, what's your biggest weakness? The first one is you should never say, my weakness is that I'm not very good at working with people. Because in all job roles, you have to collaborate with other people, and you also have to deal with customers or clients. So never say, my biggest weakness is I am not very good at working with people. The second weakness to avoid is that you should never say, my weakness is I'm not very good at timekeeping. Now, in any job, you have to be a good timekeeper. You have to turn up to work on time, so you have to be punctual, and you also have to be good at completing tasks and projects on time as required by the employer. And the third weakness that you should always avoid is to never say, my weakness is I'm not very good at managing multiple tasks or projects. Because again, in any job role, you have to be able to manage multiple tasks and take on lots of different roles and responsibilities. So make sure when you answer the question, what's your biggest weakness, you avoid those 3 weaknesses at all costs. Now, before I come on to those 11 great weaknesses to give during a job interview, here's 3 really important tips for structuring your answer. Tip number 1, make sure you do give an honest weakness. That's very, very important, because the interviewer will respect you if you are honest about your weaknesses. Tip number 2, never say, I don't have any weaknesses because I'm a perfectionist. Now, a lot of people say that during their job interviews when responding to the question, what's your biggest weakness? But that is a guaranteed way to fail the entire interview. So don't say, I'm a perfectionist, I don't have any weaknesses. And tip number 3, this is really important. At the end of your response, you should tell the interviewer that you are taking steps to improve upon your weakness. So let's now jump into those 11 great weaknesses you can use during your job interview, and you can choose one of them which is most applicable to you. So in front of me, I have 11 great weaknesses that you can use in a job interview. Now, all of these weaknesses are fine to use. So I will give you the weakness, and I will then give you an example answer. So when you find the one that's most applicable to you, make sure you pause the video and take a note of the response that I give. So weakness number 1 is to say, my biggest weakness is the fact that I focus too much on detail when carrying out projects or tasks. So I would answer the question in this way. I am a detail-orientated person, but when a project has a tight deadline, this is not always helpful. I am trying to be more mindful in situations like these, and I am learning to focus more on the end goal of the project or task that I am responsible for. So saying that your weakness is the fact that you focus too much on detail during projects or tasks is a really good one to give. Weakness number 2 is to say that you find it difficult to ask other people for help when needed. That's a really good weakness to consider giving. So I would say, I take great pride in my work, and when I encounter problems, I always try to figure things out for myself. However, I do understand it would be more beneficial to seek advice from other, more experienced people in my team, and I am taking steps to improve in this area. So that's another really good weakness, to say that you find it difficult to ask other people for help or guidance when it is needed. Weakness number 3 is to say that your biggest weakness is the fact that you struggle to let go of projects. That's another really good one. So I would say I tend to get so engrossed in projects when I am working on them, and I don't want to let them go. However, I do understand this is not always helpful to my employer's goals, and I am learning to finish a project and then move straight on to the next one. Weakness number 4 is to say that you are not very good at giving people feedback. That's another really good one. So I would say, if someone asks me for feedback, I would rather avoid it, as I don't want to hurt their feelings. However, I do appreciate feedback is an important part of self-development, and I have been trying to improve in this area by forcing myself to give people feedback when it is requested. So to say that you are not very good at giving people feedback is another great weakness to consider giving during your job interview. Weakness number 5 on our list of 11 great weaknesses to give in a job interview is to say you find it really hard saying no to people. Again, this is one of my favourite weaknesses. So I would say this has been a problem of mine because I always say yes to everything, even if I don't have the capacity to do so. Now, in the past, I have sometimes become overwhelmed by taking on too many responsibilities. Now, before I say yes to things, I now take my time to assess my own workload to make sure I do have the capacity to commit to the extra work responsibilities. So saying that you find it hard to say no to people, you always say yes, and you sometimes become overwhelmed is another great weakness to consider giving during your job interview. Weakness number 6 is to say that you lack experience in a certain area. So I would say I currently lack experience in taking the lead on projects, but this is something I am keen to improve on. Now, if I am to reach my full potential, this is an area I need to gain experience in, and I am keen to improve in this particular area. So to say that you lack experience in a certain area is a really safe weakness to give during a job interview. Weakness number 7 is to say that you are sometimes too sensitive. This is a really good weakness to consider giving. So I would say I am sometimes too sensitive, and in the past I would take criticism personally. However, I do understand that for me to continually improve professionally, I need to view other people's comments as constructive and productive. So I am learning to be more mindful in situations such as these when people are simply trying to help me improve and develop. So that's a really good weakness to consider giving in your job interview. Weakness number 8 is to say that you can sometimes be too judgmental of other people. So that's a really good, honest weakness to give. So I would say, in my last role, I would automatically judge people if they were either late finishing a project or if their standard of work was not up to scratch. However, I have been trying to improve in this area, and I no longer jump to conclusions relating to other people's performance. Instead, I try to offer my help or support so they can improve, which ultimately serves to help the team move forward. So that's another really good weakness to give when responding to the question, what's your biggest weakness? Weakness number 9, and this is a really good one, is to say that you don't yet have any leadership experience. And this is a really good weakness to give if you are a fresher or a first-time job applicant. So I would be saying, I currently have no leadership experience, but this is something I really want to improve on. If you asked me now to take the lead on something, I wouldn't feel confident in doing so. However, to improve in this area, I would seek to observe how managers and team leaders tackle projects and tasks, so I can then learn how to do it myself when the opportunity presents itself. So that's a really strong weakness to give in a job interview. Weakness number 10 is to say that you get stressed if a project or task ends up running over the deadline. So I would say my weakness is the fact that I sometimes get stressed out if I think a project is going to run over its deadline. This is simply because I take pride in my work and I genuinely don't want to let my employer down. However, I am learning to remain calm in difficult situations such as these and to focus on what I can do to help get the project finished on time and to the necessary standard. So that's another really good, strong weakness to give when answering the question, what's your biggest weakness? Weakness number 11 is to say that you are not very good at presenting to large groups of people. This is a really safe weakness to give when answering the question, what's your biggest weakness? So I would be saying something like, my weakness is my fear of public speaking. I would genuinely love to have the confidence to stand up in front of a group of people and give a talk. However, I am trying to improve in this area, and I recently purchased a book from Amazon on how to improve confidence when public speaking. So that's a really good weakness to consider giving in your job interview. So there's 11 great weaknesses to consider giving in your job interview. Tell me in the comments section below the video which one you are going to choose for your job interview. Now, if you want to accelerate your learning even further and you want to learn how to answer all of the difficult interview questions that are likely to come up during your job interview, click that link right now in the top right hand corner of the video. Head through to my website, passmyinterview.com, and you can download my full set of 30 brilliant answers to difficult interview questions. It's a great resource. You will have it within your inbox literally within 2 minutes from now, and it's going to help you to be the standout candidate during your interview. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I want to help you to pass your interview, and I can only do that if you are subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button, because that tells me you find the content useful and it motivates me to create more content for you. And finally, don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn. I've put my LinkedIn link in the description below the video, and it's always good to connect with like-minded professionals such as yourself. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I wish you all the best for passing your job interview.
Hello there, my name is Richard McMunn from the interview training website passmyinterview.com, and in this tutorial I am going to teach you how to pass a managerial interview. So if you are applying to become a manager with any company or organisation whatsoever, make sure you stay tuned, because I will help you to pass. To achieve that goal, this is what I will cover. I am going to give you a list of 21 managerial interview questions that I strongly recommend you prepare for. I am confident that if you watch the tutorial from beginning to end, you will pass your manager interview. I will then give you unique top scoring answers to all 21 questions. I will also give you some really important tips on how you can stand out during your managerial interview, and I will then tell you how you can access further resources, including these slides and the answers, to help you succeed. And just very quickly, please don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn. I've put my LinkedIn link in the description below the video. It's always good to connect with like-minded professionals such as yourself. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I am on a mission to help as many people as possible to pass their interviews. I can only do that if you are subscribed. And please just give the video a thumbs up, because that tells me you find the content useful. Thank you very much. Let's start working through those 21 managerial interview questions and the answers. Now, the first question that you need to prepare for is, tell me about yourself. And in your answer to this first managerial interview question is to focus on the diverse range of skills, qualities and experiences you have that will enable you to be an effective and high-performing manager for their company. So here's a great example answer to assist you. Tell me about yourself. Here we go. Over the years, I have built up considerable skills and attributes that have enabled me to become
Find me a
a
path.
competent manager. I am a decisive decision maker. I have the tools and resources needed to get the most out of my team. I am a strategic thinker, and I always seek to continually improve and grow within any managerial role that I occupy. For example, in my last managerial position, I helped the organisation implement a new set of operational policies and procedures that enabled the company to not only improve operational efficiency, but also increase turnover by 20%. Now that comes a significant amount of responsibility with being a manager, and in the work that I do for this company, I will always put your commercial and financial objectives above everything else. That is a brilliant answer, and it will set you apart from the other candidates. Question number 2 of your managerial interview. Why do you want to be a manager? Now, becoming a manager is a big step in terms of the level of responsibility you will have. And perhaps the best way to answer this common managerial interview question is to say that you will relish the challenge the role presents and that you genuinely believe you can make a significant impact within the role. So here's another great answer to help you pass your interview. Why do you want to be a manager? I want to be a manager primarily because of the level of responsibility that comes with the position. We spend a lot of time at work, and I want to be in a role where I can influence the success of the organisation that I am a part of. Now, being a manager is challenging, and you have to constantly think on your feet. You must always try to be one step ahead of everything.
True
And you have to
explorers
use
follow the
effective
compass in their
motivational
heart.
and leadership skills to persuade your team to believe in your vision. Now, over the years, I have studied other managers to see how they make the decisions they do. I have also read numerous books and studied online courses to ensure I have a broad knowledge base of different management techniques and ideas that are at my disposal. Now, if you hire me as your manager, I am entirely confident you will quickly see a positive impact within the organisation and the team I am responsible for. That is another rock solid positive answer that's going to help you to pass your interview. Now, don't go anywhere. I still have another 19 managerial interview questions and answers to give you, but when you're ready, if you want to click that link that is in the top right hand corner of the video, it takes you through to my website, passmyinterview.com, and you can download this full set of 21 managerial interview questions and top scoring answers. Okay, here is the next question that I want you to prepare for. What are the most important qualities needed to be a manager? Now, instead of giving a textbook answer to the common managerial interview question, give a response that demonstrates you have considered carefully the qualities needed to help their organisation thrive from a committed manager's perspective. So here's another great example answer to help you pass your interview. What are the most important qualities needed to be a manager? The most important qualities needed to be an effective manager include strong communication and interpersonal skills. You must always communicate your vision and ideas
Find me a
with
path.
purpose and clarity. You must always try to build strong relationships with your team, with the senior management team, and with external stakeholders and partners. You need decisive decision-making skills and an innovative approach to solving problems. Now, whenever problems do occur, which they inevitably will do as a manager, you must assess the risks to the organisation, weigh up your options based on the facts, and make a decision that is in the best interests of the business. You need strong leadership qualities. Your team will rely on you to provide direction, motivation, and reassurance when times are tough. You also need strategic thinking skills. Now, this means you must be capable of looking at the wider picture and remember that decisions, while sometimes unpopular, should always be focused on enabling the company to achieve its commercial goals and financial objectives. Finally, you need to be a good organiser and planner.
Comebacks are
Be
sort of my
capable
specialty.
of delegating tasks to the most suitable people within your team. Be prepared to mentor your staff.
Flush 'em out.
As a manager, you have a responsibility to help your team grow, develop, and ultimately achieve their full potential. I love that answer because it is in depth, in nature, and you are talking about the various different qualities that are needed to be a great manager. Here is the next question. Describe your management style. Now, there are so many different management styles to use. However, in my 29 years experience as a manager and a leader, I believe it is best to use a combination of styles that are suitable for specific situations that you may find yourself in as a manager. Now, the more common management styles include autocratic, authoritative, pace setting, democratic, transformational, coaching, and laissez-faire. So here's another great answer to help you. This is how I would answer this difficult managerial interview question. Describe your management style. There are several management styles I will draw upon depending on the situation I am in. Primarily, I am an authoritative style manager who outlines to his team what is expected of them, by what time, and to what standard. I will then support and motivate my team to ensure we reach the goals. I am also a transformational style manager who embraces change positively and who encourages his team to always seek improvement and development. Finally, I am a coaching style manager who will train, motivate, and develop his staff to ensure they reach their full potential. That's a really good answer because we have a broad range of management styles that you can tap into. Question 5 of our 21 managerial interview questions and answers. How do you motivate people? Now, one of the main responsibilities you will have as a manager is to motivate your team to achieve tight deadlines and to complete challenging tasks and projects. Now, in my experience, the best way to motivate a team is to give them the right training to do their jobs properly, to ask them for their input when discussing tasks and projects, to give them a clear and concise brief on what needs doing, and then to praise good work when it is delivered. So here's my example answer. How do you motivate? I motivate people by communicating with them clearly and concisely, so people know what is expected of them and to what standard they will do their jobs properly. I motivate people by asking them for their input. If you value people's opinions and you empower them to get involved with tasks and projects, they will feel valued and appreciated. Finally, if you give people the right training to carry out their work to the necessary standards and you praise good work when it is completed, your team will always do a great job for you. I fully understand how important it is to be a strong motivator as a manager, and I can be relied upon to get the most from any team. So that's another really good answer, and you can see how these are 100% going to help you to pass your managerial interview. Here is the next question that I recommend you prepare. Tell me about a time you led by example. This is a common question. Now, when you answer this managerial interview, my advice is to start with the situation, task, action, and result. Now, good examples include where you insisted on high performance, where you demonstrated good safety standards within a team, and where you pushed the team hard to achieve a difficult time frame for the completion of a project. So here's my example answer to help you pass your interview. Tell me about a time you led by example. Here we go. In a previous managerial role, I was leading a team of people to complete a challenging project for a client that had a very tight deadline. Now, partway through the project, one of our suppliers let us down, which meant we would not have sufficient resources to complete the project. Now, the people in my team suggested we should go back to the client to request more time. As a determined leader and manager, I disagreed. I told them we had a responsibility to get this project finished on time as promised, and we needed to find a way around the problem. Now, I allocated tasks to the people within my team to get this project back on track. One person was given the task of finding a new supplier, whilst another reassessed our schedule to calculate how much additional time we would need to commit to outside of the normal working day to make up for lost time. Now, 3 days later, we had found a new supplier and we had a brand new schedule of work that meant we could achieve our objective. Once the deadline came around, we had successfully finished the project and delivered it on time. Through leading by example and by not being defeated, I was able to motivate and direct my team to achieve our initial goal. And you can see that you are giving a specific example of where you led by example. Using the STAR technique, situation, task, action, result, it enables you to give a brilliant answer. Question number 7 of our 21 managerial interview questions and answers. How do you handle conflict between team members? Now, the most effective way to deal with conflict is to first and foremost let the team members resolve it themselves. Now, they are grown adults and they should be able to resolve their differences amicably for the sake of the team. And as their manager, just by subtly mentioning to those experiencing the conflict that you are aware of it is often enough to force them to act. If they fail to resolve the conflict, then you will need to step in and take control. So here's another great example. How do you handle conflict between team members? Whenever I join a new team as a manager, I let everybody know what is expected of them and the standard of work they must adhere to. Now, during those early discussions, I will outline what they must do whenever they experience conflict. I expect my team to try and resolve any issues or conflicts initially amongst themselves. They are mature adults, and as such, they have the skills needed to resolve any conflict for the sake of the team and the organisation. If they are unable to resolve their issues after trying, I will then step in and provide a resolution. That's a great answer. It shows that you are giving your staff the power to resolve situations themselves, but that you are not afraid to step in if required. Question number 8. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult employee. Now, this includes assessing your confidence and managerial skills to see if you can achieve a successful outcome. In your answer, show the interviewer you have the confidence to deal with the problem head-on to achieve your goal. Remember, the rest of your team will be watching to see how you deal with the situation, so you must take appropriate action. Here's my example answer to help you. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult employee. I started work as a manager in a previous role, and during the first few weeks I monitored how the team performed. One member of the team was always slightly late for work, and he appeared disinterested in routine tasks and projects. I decided to speak to him about his concerns, so I sat down with him in private. I asked him how long he had been with the team and what his aspirations were. He said he had been with the organisation for 7 years and that he had no interest in developing his career. He went on to say that work was a means to an end and that he'd rather not be there. No matter what I said to him, he wouldn't change his mindset. After I tackled the issue of punctuality, I started to give him small tasks that I felt were based on his strengths. I got the impression he was a creative person. So I asked him to get involved in marketing projects where his strengths would be put to better use. Now, within a few weeks, I started to see a significant improvement in his work ethic and his attitude. He was starting to enjoy his work more, and moving forward, I ensured that I allocated more tasks to him that I knew he would enjoy and thrive in. When I eventually left the organisation to take up another post, he was an enthusiastic and productive member of the team. That's a great answer that shows that you can use subtle managerial skills and qualities to help get your team on board. Question number 9. Managerial skills. What would you do within the first few weeks of starting as our manager? This is a great question. If you have a dedicated planning of what you are going to do once you start working as their manager, this demonstrates exceptional organising and planning capabilities. The following answer will work for all managerial job interviews. Here's my example response to help you.
I can make a difference.
What would you do within the first few weeks of starting as our manager? I already have a plan in place of what I will do if I'm successful. I will do 4 things. Number 1, I will sit down with the senior management team and obtain a brief of what they need me to do, what they need me to work towards, and what the commercial and financial aims are of the company. Number 2, I will spend a week or so monitoring and observing the performance of my team. I will not make any changes to the way this operates until I have seen that work on myself. Number 3, I will then sit down with and carry out a performance review to assess their strengths, their weaknesses, and their career aspirations. This will give me an indication as to their abilities and what they want to achieve in their career. Finally, number 4, I will sit down with my entire team and outline my plan of action where we are heading as a team, the changes I want to make, and what they all need to do moving forward. Now, this is also the stage where I will set the standards expected of the team. Now, if you were going to hire a manager, you'd want them to have a plan in place of what they are going to do when they start, and that is the perfect plan. Question number 10. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Now, this question is guaranteed to come up. It is always asked during managerial interviews. Therefore, you must give an answer where the strengths are aligned to the job description and your weakness is not. So my advice is to tell them about 4 or 5 managerial and leadership strengths that you have, and then just one honest weakness that will not harm your chances of success. Here's a great example answer to assist you. What are your strengths and weaknesses? My strengths include my decisiveness, confidence and ability. I can be relied upon to make tough decisions that help the organisation meet its objectives. I am not afraid to make impossible decisions. Other strengths include my flexible and adaptable managerial style. This gives me the advantage whereby I can change my management approach to suit the individual or the situation I am in. I'm also a commercially focused manager. This means anything I do as your manager will always be geared towards helping